find that everything they've got, you step forwards to my shadow. You are follow in my pattern.
Hi, TJ.
Hi, Judy.
So, kept you from zooming around today, got you stuck in a chair at home.
Well, actually, I was up early this morning and I did 3 miles of hills in Bellport. So,
Okay.
and then I came back and now I'm all excited.
Okay,
I'm
well,
all dressed up for you.
yeah, well, you got your thing you could pull up as a mask. So, welcome everyone to the ladies' room. I am your host, Judy McDowell, and today my guest is a prolific and wonderful writer, TJ Clemente, who lived in Montauk for years and wrote for Dan's papers for a long time, Hamptons.com, still probably. Yeah, for sure. Blogs all the time. And you worked for the old Montauk Pioneer. So how did you want out here, TJ? Let's start at the top here.
Okay. The story goes that I was working for Northwestern Mutual, the Grace Building on 42nd and 6th. And a young lady asked me to come out to get her deposit check in Hamptons Bay for a sailboat she no longer wanted to buy. And I drove out. She gave me her car instead of mine. And I drove out.
Didn't she have some kind of a cool car too?
Yes.
Like a Beamer convertible or something.
Yeah, something very, very sexy.
Something fun.
Yes. And then I got out there and, I was lost, Hampton Bays, in the back section. And when the gentleman was getting the refund check, I decided to buy the boat, which I had no intentions of doing until that very second. And then once I bought the boat, the gentleman said, well, now that you own the boat, please get it off my front lawn. So it started a process where I couldn't go back to the city until I arranged for the boat to be taken off his lawn, then brought somewhere, and that costed another day, and then it had to be cleaned, and that cost another. Next thing you know it, I was out here for the whole summer.
And did you take it right out to Montauk initially?
No, actually, it went to Mattatuck. Because in 2002, the East End marinas were white hot with business, and there was no room at the inn anywhere. Wow. So we shipped it to Mattatuck to be cleaned, and then it only went to East Hampton to have the mast put up because everyone else was too busy for a month because it was like the beginning of July of that summer. And so then they put it on a truck and they brought it to East Hampton Marina to put the mast up. And then, I told them my situation and they gave me a spot that was at the end of the end of the end. And I tied up there and then I stayed there for 17 years, but I have a better spot.
Well, you didn't say Mattatuck. You brought it to where?
East Hampton Marina, which is the first one on 3 Mile Harbor. First one you get to on 3 Mile Harbor, yes.
But you wound up living in Montauk in that incredible trailer park that nobody knows about, that's right on the ocean, and everyone decorates their trailers at Christmas time.
Montauk Condominiums. I think Montauk Condominiums, they call it.
Yeah.
Yes, at the end of the 100 or 200 DeForest Road was the address. Yes, when I was writing for Dan's, David Rutina was my editor-in-chief of the Montauk Pioneer, and also for the sections of the North, where I was doing a whole bunch of things. And his dad bought him or they shared it or something, and they needed someone to rent it. And so I volunteered, and I loved it. It was wonderful. It was beautiful, except in the winter when it was really cold. Yeah.
Well, so you've been out here for how many years now?
Well, you see, I actually lived in East Hampton for 10 years, the town of various spots. Montauk was 4.5 years, and I lived in the Springs for 4.5, different locations in the Springs. But now I live in East Patchogue. I because of you, I met a very lovely woman, and we stay closer to where she works than where I work because she's more successful than I am, I suppose. And
you've been married for 12 years now.
No, we've been married for 9.
Okay.
going on 10. 10th
Okay.
anniversary is coming up in about 2 weeks. You were at the wedding.
Yeah, and you
April
met her.
22nd, 2012. So I guess it's the 9th year. 10th year will be the end of I don't know how that works, but I think it's 10 years, but it's the 10th, it's not the 10th year or whatever.
I used to have those spring flings every year, and you met her at one of the spring flings,
Well,
talking to my 95-year-old mother.
well, what happened was I had told you I could not make it. I had anything goes. I was in the musical Guildhall practice that night.
Oh, right.
But that night, when I went to Guildhall to practice, there was a note on the door: due to Peter Fitzgerald's mother's illness, rehearsal tonight is canceled. Otherwise, I would have been there till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So already, instead of going back to Montauk, I said, well, I told Judy if I could, I would.
Yeah.
So I could. So I put the script in the car and got in the car and drove down to Ziggy's on Sag Main Turnpike. Never
Right.
been there before. Only went back once ever again. And there you were in front directing traffic. And you told me that your mother was talking to Michael. And I went, and I knew where Michael was. I didn't know anyone else in the room.
Yeah,
Really.
you used to play tennis. You and Michael used to play tennis a lot.
Yes, yes,
Right.
we did. But I mean, I did.
Right.
Yes, we
So
did.
he was the only one you
Very
knew.
good.
You knew
Very
it.
good ground strokes. Michael has very good ground, very steady ground strokes, very competitive guy. And there wasn't a ball that he couldn't get to. He was,
Really?
and you know what I realized? He has long wingspan. He's tall and he has very long arms. That helps when you're
He's going to be 78. He's a little shorter now. So am I.
Yeah, but he still looks like a movie star. I don't know how he's kept those good looks.
Oh, that Michael. So what are the biggest changes? Well, anyway,
she was talking.
Cindy was there talking to my mom.
Right, and then we met, and that was it. And
The rest
is history.
great.
It was a full moon that night, by the way.
I
We
know.
went out to look at the full moon.
I love having parties on full moons. I do.
So,
I still do.
So I thank you. I thank you for that.
Even last year in the pandemic, I had a pandemic picnic in my yard. And a lot of people, I have a ton of friends because you've been to my parties. They're
Yes,
huge.
yeah, they're
So-
really good.
So really no one at that point in March, they freaked us all out and we're in the high risk group. No one wanted to come and you could only have 20 people to begin with. So I got 20 of my nearest and dearest friends to come and I did seating areas all around the yard. And at every seating area, I put a bucket of ice with a bottle of champagne. And it was interesting because people would arrive with their masks on and they'd walk around the yard and look at everything. And in the end, everyone went up on the deck. Everyone was so happy to see each other because none of us had been anywhere since March 10th.
No, I know.
And the pandemic picnic was June 18th. It was a beautiful day. We had a wonderful time. But that's that. So, so what are the biggest changes you've seen over the years on the East End?
Well, it's really easy. The biggest change is the internet. When I came out here, when I started writing, there was the East Hampton Star, there was East Hampton Press, there was the Independent, and there was Dan's Papers, and some monthly magazines.
You
but
know, I don't even think the press group had started yet.
No, the Southampton Press was just a single paper in Southampton. It's been there for 100 years.
But they didn't have
so that was it.
Press.
Yeah, there was no group. But what I'm saying is that, you wrote and then people had to read it in the papers.
Right.
Then in 2005 or 2006, they asked me to do a story on the outcoming iPhone. And none of the kids wanted to take the story. They thought the phone was too expensive. It would be a failure. It'd be a luxury item. It was a loser. So they gave it to me, the old man. And I said it was going to change the world. And sure enough, it has. And now everything is website oriented and internet like we're on right now. But in the beginning, when I first got out here, this wasn't possible. These shows from LTV were only available on the television or you didn't see them. Right. And so I would say that's the biggest change.
And you've interviewed like a ton of people, some really, really interesting people. Who are your favorite? Who are the most interesting people?
Okay. I would say the most interesting and the one that I think was Daniel Ellsberg of the Pentagon Papers. And
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and probably one of the most. I ended up meeting him. I interviewed him in the phone. It's supposed to be a half hour. It ended up being 3 hours, and then afterwards he wanted to continue the conversation. So after his talk at Guildhall, where he was promoting a documentary called "The Most Dangerous Man,"
Right.
we met up in the back and we spoke for another hour while Alec Baldwin was like waiting, really pissed off. And but he was so brilliant. You just can't. I didn't realize that he was like a real brilliant person, because who knew? He's just a name. Who is he really? And now he's a little bit more out. But that was one of the first times he ever opened up to anybody, because he was very secretive.
Oh, it's scary. Yeah.
And then another one had to be Mike Milken.
Oh my God.
At the Ross School. Another situation where I went over there. He was doing one of those cancer things for tennis or whatever, and it was supposed to be like 15, and it rained, and everything was delayed all day.
Yeah.
And so he was just sitting there, and no one to. So we just, he kept, telling me stories and stuff about, very, very fascinating life he had, and he's a cancer survivor now, many years.
Then didn't he have a few years in jail?
Well, he went away to camp, but he was able to keep $1 billion. So,
Jesus, amazing.
And in all honesty, it was I actually had read Predator's Ball before I met him, and I understood the whole situation.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of like when not Barbara, what's her name?
Martha Stewart.
When she went to prison, it's kind of a selected press.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it's all insider trading on Wall Street. Let's face it. It's all insider trading. Makes me so mad. I'm one of the little retail clients, and makes me so mad when I watch these big hedge funds and mutual funds pull their chips off after they pump something up, and all the kids are trading on Robinhood, and they pump things up, and the kids are so excited, and then they rake in their chips and everybody loses their money. Makes me very mad. But anyway, so those guys. So who would you say was your most thrilling and exciting interview?
Well, the most thrilling one was that I went into the paper one day, and Susan Ghilardi I went into Dan's papers one day, and Susan Ghilardi said to me, "Ed Koch wants you to interview him in a house in Montauk." And I said, okay. So I took Cindy with me, because I thought, what, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
And we spent 5 hours. He loved Cindy. We spent 5 hours. This is just before he died.
He's a funny guy.
With the oxygen, and he could barely stand up and everything, but he stood up to greet Cindy. Then he laid on the couch and he told me all sorts of. It just went on and on. And we couldn't believe it. There was Ed Koch. And, he was maybe performing a little bit for Cindy, because he was so curious about the afterlife. They were talking, because he died.
Oh, perfect for Cindy to talk to.
And so that was a really thrilling afternoon out of nowhere, because larger than life, there he was, and we were in a house in Montauk in Heather Hills, beautiful. It was like 100. We were on the beach. We had our bathing suits underneath, and we just ended up spending the whole afternoon. And they invited us for dinner, but we went we had to go first, and then we ate somewhere in Montauk. So that was the most fun.
Oh, he was legendary. I loved Ed Koch. We actually did, when I had good skates in Central Park, we did a pair of roller skates for Ed Koch. Isn't that amazing? That was, that was like over years ago.
Judy, wasn't it fascinating how tall he was?
Yeah.
He's a big guy, whoa, you never know until you meet him.
He really didn't take any crap from anybody he was interesting. He was interesting. So you live with a sidekick, so I don't know, you guys must talk about where things are going. How do you see the East End in 20 years? What do you think it's going to be like? Because the traffic is over the top right now with everybody out here because of the pandemic.
Well, I think we're going to see more of a polarization of very rich and very poor.
Oh, no.
That's my opinion. Well, do you agree or disagree? I think the middle zone is going to be
I don't think people can be very poor out here, because there's so much wealth. How can people be so is there a word, uncompassionate? I mean, people need to have compassion.
I believe the word they're using during the pandemic is underserved people. That's the new phrase. But what I believe is that as the richer come out, they're going to need more personnel, more service people.
Yeah.
And so you'll have those situations where there's 6 or 8 families in a house and swinging it, or 6 or, and there's going to be kind of that, because the middle, you know, how would a normal person, you see, the people who own their houses and watch them grow to where they are, great. But when they sell them, somebody's going to have to pay that amount of money. And then I don't see middle-class people, you know, paying in the 7 figures. You know, a lot of them own the house that they bought at $40,000 and they're worth $4 million, the land and homes.
Oh, yeah, they got to sell and move on, take the money and run.
What do you think?
I don't know. I really haven't thought about it. I'm just so thrilled about the lack of pollution and the lack of the jets coming in and out and the helicopters. Not that they really come over this house and on Bullpath, but the house on Merchants Path that we had, we were in a direct line with the runway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw what these people were suffering, because we literally had, as if we were having a dinner out on the deck at 7 o'clock on a Friday night, we literally had to stop talking because the noise was unbelievable.
I understand. I played tennis at the East Hampton indoor tennis in the summer, and I used to sit there and just watch the parade of jets. And how could you play tennis? Because it's one more amazing jet after another. And they're so loud. I mean, how can you play? You have to stop playing and just watch the jets come in. And the helicopters, you can't even throw the ball up because the wind will, you know.
Yeah, hopefully now that lease with the FDA or whatever it is, FAA, FDA, is over in September. And I hope we do take control, and I hope we bring it back to the way it was, with all just the local guys with their little planes doing their takeoffs and landings, and get, you know, not have the jets anymore. Let them come into West Hampton and have a little bit of traffic. How they suffer. But yeah, no, I hope that the quality of life gets better for everyone out here. I mean, it seems to me that after Clinton, the middle class got wiped out. You know,
so you understand what I'm saying? You don't disagree with what I'm saying?
No. Another thing that I find really interesting and horrible is that I've been calling like Peter Van Scoyac and a couple of people on the board. I called one of the trustees. I don't understand why they're not bringing that land, that wind power line in under Georgica Pond, because Georgica Pond gets drained every year. Right. It's going to be 30 feet under the ground level, and it can go right up the right fork finger of Georgica Pond and come out right in back of the power station. And the trustees just give me this runaround. Oh, the trustees, the land, the groundwater. But it makes total sense. Why go up a street and have to go through a whole town? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But, and I can't get a straight answer from anyone. But anyway, that drives me crazy.
Well, you know what it is? They don't really know. I think that there's a lot of balls still in the air. I think we're years off. Okay.
Oh, we're years off. But I was driving down Beach Lane like a couple of weeks ago, and there was this giant, it looked like a giant oil rig right at the end of the road. And I was like, what? And they're just cores out to test the land for the thing. But bringing it under Georgica Pond, to me, seems like a no-brainer, and I can't get a straight answer from anyone. But anyway, I don't write letters to the Star. I like staying under the radar.
I have written 6 or 7 stories on this issue.
Yeah.
And you know, in the beginning, the town was only going to, but you know, we're not going to go into it. It's a very complicated. It's complicated. Yeah, it's complicated because I'm sort of on the fisherman's side, and I'm not in favor of it at all. So it wouldn't be good to have me keep on going because green energy is where everybody's at. So I'm on the minority side of the ledger. So we should probably
free energy. Yeah, poor Tesla. He wanted to give free energy to everybody, and they put him in the nut house. So I don't want to be put in the nut house. So I'm not pushing any buttons on anybody. But I think it should be brought under Georgica Pond. So what's your favorite spot in the Hamptons these days?
Well, I would have to say that Louse Point is one of my favorite places. I sail there. I'll drive there. I have a beach sticker. It's the beach I go to with my beach sticker.
The water seems so clean there.
Yeah, it's so great for swimming. It's almost like your pool, which is our favorite water hole. But it's the water is gentle and it has you can walk in and and then the other side has that tremendous view of Gardiner's Island, and then there's Gerard Point, and you can walk in the inlet on the rock. It's just it's like being in Ocho Rios, Jamaica. Out the Ganges,
it hasn't changed much at all over the years.
Oh no, and it's just so strange. You run into the most amazing people, and it's my favorite spot. Yes, that I would say that's easily my favorite spot.
So you wrote for the Montauk Pioneer back in the day. And that's now gone. What was that like? That was such a tight paper.
Montauk in the wintertime was like 300 families back then.
Yeah.
And you got to know everybody. Going to the Gossman's family house to do an interview and have them pull out pictures and stuff from the 50s and 60s and 70s and then going and call Darenberg, God rest his soul too, and it was just really the Monty family, who are no longer really that involved with gurneys, but back in the day, you go in there and they were so nice and everyone was so friendly.
Talk about small town. Everybody knew everybody.
Now it's a little different. It's a little more gentrified, to say the least.
Gentrified. Durier's is like, $1,000 for dinner now. And now that John Gossman that just died? No,
he just died.
That's all gonna change.
COVID.
His
wife had just died.
So sad.
But amazing, really nice people. They were really, really nice. That was the strangest thing. They were just a different breed in Montauk.
Yeah, they're totally. Well, they were, completely separate from the Hamptons. But Sag Harbor has become like Disneyland, as has Montauk, only for a younger group out there. But Sag Harbor is, I don't know what's going to happen to Sag Harbor this summer.
Sag Harbor has become the village of the. It's an extension of Greenwich Village.
It's a tourist trap now. I mean, everybody comes out to walk around in Sag Harbor. Just yesterday, a Tuesday on April 6th, beautiful day. But Sag Harbor, and I don't know why I said but, Sag Harbor was just, there were no parking spots. There were people everywhere. There were people sitting outside at Tuto. I have to say that Paige did a great job of separating, doing the social distancing. That's been the whole pandemic. I've been going there. They've done a great job. Tuto did a great job. Lulu did an okay job, but they seem to be closed. I don't know, they were closed and open sometime, but they did the plastic things. Paige did like little walls.
Do you think the town should continue to let the restaurants serve on the sidewalk?
Yeah,
I do. Do you think they should let, because they used to not allow that, but because
I know, it's so funny. The restaurants begged and begged and begged for years, and the town said no, and now all of a sudden everybody's got it. And next to what used to be Concadoro, which was normally priced good Italian food, and now it's super expensive, okay Italian food. But they took that whole parking lot next door and strung lights, and it looks like San Gennaro Street Fair. It's really funny, but it made the town really cute. And East Hampton's trying to do the same thing now. Mm-hmm. So I think we're getting close to the end of our time, but You want to talk about sailing for a second? Because that's what you do
Yeah,
every.
I would like to say two things. First of all, I did write 2 books that are available on Amazon.
Oh,
Past the
Whistling
Hottie
Past the-
Graveyard,
your book, Whistling Past the Hottie Graveyard, is so much fun. I loved it. And what's the second book?
Triangle Love,
Triangle Love. I
which
remember. Right.
are available on Amazon, and
Very-
we'll let that go.
Read them both. They're a lot of fun.
And I sail a lot, and I always say that leaving the dock and going sailing every day when I do it is like opening a really good bottle of wine and taking a first sip, and you go, "Ooh, that is good." And every day when I go out, it's like taking that first sip every time, and watching the sunset every night. As everyone on the East End knows, we have the most
It's
amazing
glorious.
sky and
It's
colors.
glorious.
Yeah.
Like having a fantastic masterpiece of a painting right before your eyes, and it's constantly changing the
It's our
colors.
our nightly new Sistine Chapel.
Sistine Chapel. I walk the dog at Wild Hill that almost every day, and it's great. So thank you for joining me, TJ.
And don't forget, folks, Hamptons.com, an important website, just
Free.
taken over by Saunders. So
Oh,
some
really?
changes are coming. Some great changes are coming.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us on the Ladies' Room. And
Thank you for
remember,
having
give yourself lots of room for love, room for fun, room for reading good books and articles by TJ, and room to grow and learn stuff and glow, people.
Oh, one last thing. I do have a weekly column, 60 something. It's been out for 5 years, every week on Hamptons.com, about being in your 60s. So go for that.
Well, and then soon there'll be one in your 70s, but by then I'll be in my 80s.
No, you won't. Not quite.
Love you. Good to see you.
All right, ciao.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, all the technical people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jody.
Breathe in. Breathe in. Oh, couldn't stop it. Couldn't stop, no, couldn't stop.